The story of the United States begins in the 18th century. Colonists from Europe settled on the East Coast. They formed 13 colonies. Life was tough, but they thrived. They wanted independence from British rule. Tensions grew between the colonies and Britain. The British imposed taxes and laws. The colonists had no say in the British Parliament. They felt this was unfair. Voices for independence grew louder. Leaders like George Washington emerged. He played a crucial role in the fight for independence. Another key figure was Thomas Jefferson. He authored the Declaration of Independence. This document was a bold statement of freedom. In 1776, the colonies declared their independence. They formed a new nation. The United States of America was born. This was the start of a new era. The journey was just beginning. The Declaration of Independence is a vital document. It was written in 1776. Thomas Jefferson was the main author. It declared that the colonies were free from British rule. The document had powerful words. It stated that all men are created equal. It said they have unalienable rights. These include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This was a radical idea at the time. The Declaration was adopted on July 4, 1776. This day is now celebrated as Independence Day. The document was signed by representatives of the 13 colonies. It was a brave act. They risked their lives for freedom. The Declaration inspired many. It gave hope to those fighting for freedom. It also influenced other nations. The ideas of liberty and equality spread worldwide. The document remains a symbol of American values. After independence, the new nation needed stability. The Articles of Confederation were the first attempt. However, they were weak. The country needed a stronger framework. This led to the Constitutional Convention in 1787. The Constitution was drafted during this convention. It created a strong federal government. It balanced power between the states and the national government. It also established three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. George Washington became the first president. His leadership was crucial. He set many precedents for future leaders. The early years were challenging, but the nation grew stronger. The Bill of Rights was added in 1791. These first 10 amendments protected individual freedoms. The Constitution became the supreme law of the land. It has been amended over the years. However, its core principles remain. It established a government of the people, by the people, for the people. This was a new experiment in democracy. The Civil War was a major turning point. It lasted from 1861 to 1865. The conflict was between the northern states and the southern states. The main issue was slavery. The South wanted to keep it. The North wanted to end it. Abraham Lincoln was the president during this time. He aimed to preserve the Union. The war was brutal and bloody. Many lives were lost. However, the North emerged victorious. This led to the abolition of slavery. The Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1863. It declared that all slaves in Confederate states were free. This was a significant step towards equality. The 13th Amendment was later added. It officially ended slavery in the USA. The aftermath of the war was challenging. The nation had to rebuild. This period is known as Reconstruction. It aimed to integrate the southern states back into the Union. It also focused on the rights of freed slaves. However, progress was slow and many challenges remained. Section 5: Reconstruction and the Industrial Revolution. Reconstruction was a complex period. It lasted from 1865 to 1877. The aim was to rebuild the South. Freed slaves needed protection and rights. The 14th and 15th Amendments were added. They granted citizenship and voting rights to African Americans. However, there was resistance. Many in the South opposed these changes. Groups like the Ku Klux Klan emerged. They used violence and intimidation. Despite this, progress was made. African Americans began to take part in public life. At the same time, the Industrial Revolution was transforming the nation. New technologies emerged. Factories and railroads were built. The economy grew rapidly. Cities expanded. Many people moved from rural areas to urban centers. This period brought both opportunities and challenges. The nation became more prosperous. However, there were also harsh working conditions. Labor movements began to rise. Workers demanded better rights and conditions. This set the stage for further reforms. Section 6: The USA in World War I. World War I was a global conflict from 1914 to 1918. The USA joined in 1917. President Woodrow Wilson led the nation. The sinking of the Lusitania and the Zimmermann telegram led to its involvement. American troops were sent to Europe and played a crucial role in the Allied victory. The USA emerged as a global power with a strong economy and military. The war led to social changes, advancing the women's suffrage movement. In 1920, the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. Section 7. The Great Depression and World War II. The 1930s were a difficult time. The Great Depression struck. The stock market crashed in 1929. This led to widespread economic hardship. Franklin D. Roosevelt became president in 1933. He introduced the New Deal. The aim was to revive the economy. World War II began in 1939. The attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 changed that. The nation entered the war. The war ended in 1945 with the defeat of the Axis powers. The USA emerged as a superpower. The economy recovered. Section 8. The Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement was a pivotal era. It spanned the 1950s and 1960s. The aim was to end racial segregation and discrimination. African Americans led the movement. They sought equality and justice. Key figures emerged like Martin Luther King Jr. He advocated for nonviolent protest. The movement gained momentum. Events like the Montgomery bus boycott and the March on Washington were significant. The latter included King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech. Legislation followed. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed. It ended segregation in public places. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was also crucial. It removed barriers to voting for African Americans. These laws were major victories. The movement faced resistance. However, it brought significant change. It inspired other movements for equality. Women, LGBTQ+ communities, and others sought their rights. The Civil Rights Movement reshaped American society. It moved the nation closer to its ideals of liberty and justice for all. Section 9. The Late 20th Century. The late 20th century was a time of change. The Cold War dominated global politics. The USA and the Soviet Union were rivals. This period saw events like the Cuban Missile Crisis and the space race. The Cold War ended in 1991 with the fall of the Soviet Union. Domestically, the USA saw significant developments. The economy grew, but there were also challenges. The 1970s saw economic struggles and the Watergate scandal. This led to a loss of trust in government. However, the nation bounced back in the 1980s. The tech revolution began in the late 20th century. The rise of computers and the internet transformed life. New industries emerged. This period also saw social changes. Movements for gender equality and LGBTQ+ rights gained momentum. The USA entered the 21st century as a global leader. However, it faced new challenges. Issues like terrorism, economic inequality, and climate change emerged. The nation continued to evolve and adapt. Section 10. The Early 21st Century. The early 21st century was marked by significant events. The 9/11 attacks in 2001 were a major turning point. They led to the War on Terror. The USA invaded Afghanistan and Iraq. These conflicts had long-lasting impacts. The economic crisis of 2008 was another major event. It led to a global recession. The housing market collapsed. Many lost their jobs and homes. The government responded with bailouts and stimulus packages. Recovery was slow but steady. Social changes continued. The election of Barack Obama in 2008 was historic. He was the first African-American president. His presidency brought reforms in healthcare and other areas. However, political divisions grew. The decade also saw advances in technology. Social media became a powerful tool. It changed how people communicate and access information. Issues like climate change and social justice became more prominent. The nation faced challenges but continued to strive for progress. Section 11. Reflection on Modern USA. The USA has come a long way since its founding. It has faced many challenges. Wars, economic crises, and social movements have shaped it. Each event has left its mark. The nation has evolved and grown stronger. Today, the USA is a diverse and dynamic country. It is a leader in many fields. However, it still faces challenges. Issues like inequality and political division remain. The nation continues to strive for its ideals of liberty and justice. The journey of the USA is ongoing. It is a story of resilience and progress. The nation has achieved much, but there is always more to do. The events of the past have shaped the present. They will continue to influence the future. Reflecting on the past helps us understand the present. It also guides us as we move forward. The USA story is one of hope and determination. It reminds us that progress is possible. The nation's evolution is a testament to the power of democracy and freedom.